Good morning, guys. Welcome to another episode of Everyday EDC. My name is Tyler, and today we are doing something that I've never done before. I don't like telling stories about the Navy, but I was trying to think of content for this segment, and I figured I think there's a couple good stories of shenanigans that we did, and yeah. So this is a story about Thailand. When we were in Thailand, I was there for 4 days. 3 of those days I was able to leave the boat. The other day I was on duty and not able to leave the boat. But I want to preface this with, there is not a bunch of taboo topics in this, but the last story is going to be taboo. And I'll warn you guys before I get to that story about this, because, you know, some of you may not want to hear what the last story is. But that being said, so we go to Thailand. We were in Phuket, Thailand, and the way the Navy works is typically, I was on a carrier, and typically we pull into port once every 30 to 45 days. And when you pull into port, it's kind of like your R&R. You get to go and drink, you get to go and just like relax and have a good time before you go back out in the boat and become a zombie for the next 30 days doing your job. In no way, shape, or form was I ever in any danger or anything like that. That's why I don't like talking about the military. I don't like talking about, oh, I was in the Navy. Like, because I'm not one of those dudes that's like, give me mad props because I was there. That's not what it's about. You guys already know, I went to college. I screwed up in college. My parents stopped paying for it. But I was smart enough to know I had to do something else in my life, and that's kind of what led me to the Navy. So, with all that being said, please do not give me credit for anything when it comes to military service. That goes all to the guys in the front lines and the guys that are actually putting their lives on the line. On to the story. We pull into Thailand, and we're about 45 minutes away from town. So we're all getting off the boat, and it's like there's like 3,500 of us on the boat, so it's like we're just piling off this thing. Well, we end up seeing, Thailand doesn't have taxis. If you've ever seen a golf cart, imagine a golf cart, and then imagine like a pickup truck, and a golf cart had a baby. That's what these things are. They're like these little red taxi golf cart things that they go like 80 miles an hour. They're not playing around over there. They're pretty intense. So we talk to this guy, and we tell him we're going to pay him $60 for the whole week that we're there, or the whole 3 days. And he agrees to drive us around. So the first place he takes us to, we went and got some authentic food, and it was good, man. Except for I was really into working out and stuff, and I got a salad, and I wanted something spicy. So they give me the salad. They throw a whole fish on top of the salad, eyeballs and all. And Americans aren't used to that. I'm sure other countries are, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, holy hell, this is cool. So, you know, we eat that, and that's cool. It's just kind of like a culturistic, you know, you go there, and that salad was the spiciest fucking thing I've ever had in my life for a salad. It was unique. Not really part of the story, just kind of telling the whole. The main story I wanted to tell in Thailand, short of like all the little odds and ends, is I asked him to go show us something authentic, our taxi driver, and he's like, oh yeah, I got you. So he was pretty much like our tour guide. So he took us to the mountains, and it was so awesome. It was like monsooning outside, and you have never seen freaking rain like you've seen in Thailand. Like the raindrops are the size of $50 when it's coming down like that. If you're in the U.S., unless you're in Florida, when a hurricane hits, you've never seen rain like this. I'm just telling you guys right now, it's freaking insane. So we're driving through on these go-karts through the mountains, and it was just one of the coolest experiences you've ever seen in your life. We passed people riding freaking elephants and stuff like that, just because I don't know if there's wild elephants in Thailand, but they had like elephant rides where you can ride the elephants and like take them through the mountains too, which lay the largest craps you've ever seen in your life. But that was super fun, which led us to the next thing. This guy says, you guys want to see a snake show? And I'm of the nature where I'm thinking Thailand has all this dirty stuff. Not dirty, but like, I don't want to go see what chicks do with snakes. That's what first goes through my mind because you hear all these stories. That's not what it was at all. It's very, very clean. This is a very, very clean story. So, to some extent. So we get there, and it's like this little stage area with these cement pads for seats and stuff, and it's all in one big circle. And there's this guy, his name is Joe. Well, at least they called him Joe. I can't believe that that's his actual name. And he's like the snake tamer type of guy. There's an announcer with a microphone, which was helpful, but keep in mind this area, the diameter of the circular pad that we were sitting on was probably no more than 30 feet wide. And that's the diameter. So imagine a big circle with cement pads all around it and 30 feet wide. So Joe gets out these snakes, and okay, Joe's gonna play with these yellow venomous snakes. So there's 4 of them. 4 of them? 5 of them. There's 5 of them. So Joe's gonna catch these snakes. So they just drop the snakes in the middle of the freaking pit, which if they wanted to, they could climb up to where we're at. Thankfully, Joe was there. And Joe starts catching these snakes. He catches 2 in each hand, and they're venomous. They weren't devenomed or anything. And the announcer goes, "So, Joe, what are you going to do? There's 1 more snake." Joe looks around. He has 4 snakes in his hand. He reaches down with his mouth, lets the snake try to attack him. He dodges the snake and catches it by the back of the neck with his mouth. And I can't make this story up. So he's got 5 snakes, 4 in his hands, 1 in his freaking mouth. And you're just like, what the fuck? Like, how do you get to the point where this is what you're good at? Like, that's insane. So he puts the snakes away. Okay, Joe, we're going to get out another snake. This one he's not playing with, he just picks up. And it's because they call it an elephant killer. Apparently this snake has venom that can kill an elephant, and it's not devenomed. So I'm already on edge. I don't like snakes. It's the only thing in my life that ever actually scares me is snakes, and I don't care what you guys say about it. I'm not a snake guy. Don't like them. They move weird. They get my skin crawling. But I'm fascinated with them because I'm scared of them. So Joe brings the snake out, that's the elephant killer, holding it by the neck. And he just basically shows us all face to face, like 6 inches away from my face, what this snake looks like. And then by our feet, he squeezes the snake's head in a certain way that he's spitting venom out by our feet. And I'm like, this is not safe. Like, what the hell? No, Joe, get that snake away from me. So the last, well, then they do this one where they throw kind of like I think it was a boa. It was just a very large constricting snake, not venomous. But they throw it in this pit that's probably a 5 foot deep by 3 foot wide in diameter pit filled with water. So this snake's missing now, right? It's in this pit of water. Joe, you need to go get that snake out of the water. So this little Thai dude jumps in this little water pit, and you see thrashing, you see just like, it looks like a dude's getting mauled by jaws. Like, it's just crazy. Joe comes up, he's got the snake with his one hand, the snake's kind of wrapped around his body with the other, but it's not to the point where it's able to constrict him. He knows what he's doing. I don't know what he did, but he knows what he's doing. And he comes out like a minute later with this snake in his head in one hand, the tail in the other, and the rest of his body's kind of like hanging and semi-wrapped around his, and you're just like, what the? So y'all think that's crazy. The very last snake that they pull out was a king cobra. Now, for those of you reptile guys, you guys will know what I'm talking about, but king cobras are not all the same. We all see the spitting cobras in India and all that stuff, and no, the one that he had wasn't a spitting cobra. It was just a king cobra, and when I tell you, you've never seen a king cobra until you've seen it in person. Oh my God. This thing was probably 2.5 inches to 3 inches thick in diameter, the body itself. So he's fucking with this thing, and he's intentionally getting it to attack him and dodging it. Keep in mind, this thing is not devenomed, like, at all. And going back to the size of the snake, imagine a cat's head. A domestic cat, just a normal sized cat that lives in your house, a cat's head. That's how big this freaking king cobra's head was. I'm not exaggerating this. I will never forget this because, once again, I'm scared of snakes, but B, like, seeing this all in person, you're like, holy shit. The head is the size of a cat's head. And maybe it's the hood that makes it look bigger. I don't know. So he's getting it to attack him, and he's dodging it. And the snake, when it rears up, you always see that king cobra thing where it rears up, and you do that hand like you see in dodgeball where they, like, come up and they, like, you see the snake like this. You know, they do the snake thing. And that's what it's doing. Its neck and its head are about 1.5 feet off the ground, and it's ready to frickin' strike. And so it's striking left and right, and Joe's dodging it. He's slipping it with his hand. Like, this dude had to be an awesome kickboxer or Muay Thai guy because his reflexes were insane. So the cobra lunges at him. So the announcer goes, okay, Joe, I want you to kiss the king cobra on the lips. Right after he got done pissing this thing off. I'm like, I literally out loud go, don't do it, Joe. Because you're like, no, this dude's going to get bitten by this king cobra. And it's like, oh, shit. So he goes to kiss it on the lips, and it lunges at him twice. And he dodges it. And when he's going to kiss it on the lips, he's going for it. Like, so he's right in its face when it goes to strike him, and he still is able to get out of the way. What does he do? He takes his hand, and he rubs it up the king cobra's stomach to its neck, like right under its mouth, and does that twice, and it's like a soothing thing or something, and he was able to kiss this thing on the lips. And again, I can't make this story up. Like, this isn't something that I would be like, this, I'm just gonna make this up just for the sake of making it up. No, this actually happened. Kisses this thing on the lips. Again, imagine kissing your cat on the fucking face. Like, that's how big this thing was, like the head. So that's the story of Joe. That guy is a legend in my mind, and he is awesome. I'm kind of condensing this. I guess I started this a little bit late before I got to work. This is where the explicit story comes into play. So for those of you that are squeamish, you don't want to hear taboo topics or anything like this, go ahead and turn this off now. Because I'm not going to try to hold back my punches when I'm giving this story just for the sake of making it PG, because there's no way to make this story PG. Thailand and many other Asian countries are known for having dudes that dress like chicks. Okay? But, and you guys will think this is crazy, you cannot tell the frickin' difference. I'm going to tell you that right now. Unless you know exactly what to look for, and you think you do, but you don't, you cannot tell the difference. So, when we were pulling in on a bus one day, actually the first day I didn't get that taxi, that was the second day. The first day we took a bus into town. There was a bunch of Navy dudes. I had already heard the story about all what they call lady boys. And so I had already heard all the horror stories from sailors and lady boys. So I was ready for it. We pull in and we're driving down on this bus, and this, like, on the side of the road there was 30 girls, and I'm guessing 30. I don't remember the exact number. It was too fast to count. And they all flashed us as we were driving through on the bus. They lifted up their shirts, you know, tits are hanging out, everything, and all the dudes are just going berserk, frothing at the mouth. Like, it's imagine a frat party with all dudes just waiting for chicks to show up. And so that brings up another story. I'm gonna have to tell you guys at rounds 2 and 3 of this. But all the dudes are frothing at the mouth. Well, I look at my buddy and I go, don't get excited. And he goes, why? And I'm like, if you checked half of those girls as you were walking through, look at their shoulders and look at their neck, you could tell that they're dudes, but you gotta pay close attention. That's why the nightlife is way different than the day life, because you can't tell at night. So I tell that story to preface this. I'm in a bar. And when you're in the Navy, you have to have a Liberty Buddy anytime you're out in town. What that means is you have a friend that you left the boat with that it is both of your responsibilities to make sure both of you get back to the boat. It's kind of how you do a checks and balances. So we're in a bar, and I'm the type of guy that likes to, especially during that time, I like to party. It was like one of those where I just like having fun. It wasn't about getting the girl. It wasn't about this. It was about drinking and having a good time. So I'm flirting with the waitress. She's playing pool, which apparently over there she's not supposed to be, but I didn't care. I'm like, you're going to play pool with me. So she came over. We're playing pool. And every 5 minutes, I'm ringing the bell in the freaking bar, and it buys everybody a shot. In 3 days, I think I spent like $2,000, but it was the best $2,000 ever spent. So my buddy's sitting there, and he sees what we would call, in the nicest way possible, a lady of the night sitting out in the street. And he looks at me and he goes, man, I really want to go talk to her. Now, when I say talk, you guys know exactly what I'm saying. He doesn't just want to talk to this girl. He wants to do his thing. So I look at him and I'm like, bro, you do your thing, man. I ain't going to... You do whatever you want to do, man. I'm going to be in the bar. I'm going to be drinking. I don't care. And so he starts walking out. His name's Clint, by the way. So Clint starts walking out. And they're about 50 to 60 feet away from each other, and he's walking, and I'm sitting in the bar. It's like a patio seat, you know, and I'm just sitting there talking to the waitress, watching him walk out to this girl, because it's hilarious to me. I think the whole situation's funny. He gets halfway there, and keep in mind, there's always this fear that you're going to run into a lady boy versus an actual female over there. So he's walking up, he gets halfway through, now he's about 20 feet away, 30 feet away from the girl, and I yell from the patio, "Don't forget to check for a dick." Again, this is an explicit story, so those of you that are squeamish, you know, don't. So he totally forgot, and he turns around with the most terrified look on his face, like, oh shit, I totally forgot that that's a thing here. And he's still walking towards her because he's already committed to whatever conversation or whatever he's going to do, right? You guys can fill in the blank there. And he gets up to her, and I see them talking back and forth, and she looks at him, and she's like, oh, no. Like, you can just see it out of the body language. And he's like, no, stop messing with me, you know. Are you a boy or a girl? But Americans are jackasses. We don't know how to ask that question in the first place. Not that, I don't really know that anybody knows how to ask that question. And I watch her grab his hand, put it down the front of her pants, and I watch this huge terror on his face as it's happening. You see him look like he's about to just crap himself because he's not really sure what to do. And then you watch this huge sigh of relief come over Clint. He realized that everything is as it's supposed to. He's expecting what he expected, and I wish I could give that story some justice, because in the moment, that was the funniest situation that I had ever seen, especially regarding the subject matter, right? Oh my gosh, just watching his face go from just pale, and then he was excited and they disappeared for 40 minutes and did whatever they were going to do. I don't really care. But just watching a man not know whether or not this girl that he's approaching or not know that it's going to be a female or a male, but not realize that that's a question already to being committed to the situation, was the most absolutely funny situation that I had ever seen. Oh my gosh, was it funny. And so, again, not a tasteful story for anybody. That's why I'm saying this is a story for those of you that are squeamish, that don't really want to know what goes on. I'm giving you guys that heads up prior to the story. I tried to keep it as kosher as possible telling it, but You guys have to hear stories like that because nobody realizes that goes on. And unless you leave the States in this mindset of like, keep in mind, all the Navy guys that are there, we're all from the ages of 18 to like 24, 25 for the most part. You know, obviously there's older people on the boat, but the guys that I hang out with, the guys that we party with, they're all like that. So imagine the mindset of a male at that age range, what you have on your mind and everything. And that's what leads up to this point in time. I was a little bit different. I'm not trying to sound like I'm cooler than that or anything like that. I had no interest in that style of, you know, I just more wanted to hang out and have fun. But, yeah, that was freaking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I got a lot more of those, and I feel like I didn't, once again, give that one justice, but I got a lot more of those stories that are great. Now, I'll end it with kind of a war story that I was super prideful about. There was a situation, I think, off the coast of India where there were pirate skiffs, and a skiff, just imagine like a canoe that's upgraded. I mean, they're not anything huge. And there was like probably 4 or 5 skiffs filled with pirates. There was about 20 pirates out there, and pirates are a real thing, by the way. They're not our pirates. They're actual pirates. Watch Captain Phillips if you guys want to know anything about pirates. That's pretty much how they are. So I worked on a piece of gear that was called an EOSU that worked with an overall system called AT FLIR. What does AT FLIR do? It goes on top, or not on top, but it goes underneath the F-18 in a pod. The piece of gear that I worked on looked like a gray R2-D2 that attached to a longer piece that held all the electronics and stuff. And what that does is the AT FLIR zeroes in on targets, and it sees white light as the target, so it senses body heat. Well, my job was to fix that EOSU that controlled all of those. It had all these different alignments. I think I had like 27 different golden mirrors in there, and they're gold-plated. I don't remember the reason that they were gold-plated, but it was physical gold. It was gold-plated mirrors, and they served a purpose. And we would align those. We would fix any of the electronic components. We would change out whatever components you had to do. To put it in perspective, I was the fastest guy on the West Coast to do it for 2 years until I trained a guy that got better than me. But I could tear one down in 4.5 hours, but it still took about 6 hours to rebuild. So the overall process, just to take it apart, change out an electrical box in the bottom, and then put it back together, probably took 12 to 14 hours just to do that. Anyways, back to the pirates. These pirates were doing something off the coast of India. I don't remember what it was. And I remember the Navy going, somehow they got them a warning basically stating, you guys are going to leave in the next 30 minutes. And you're going to leave in one way or another. We all know what that means. Get the fuck out of there because we're the Navy. We're going to destroy you. Well, the F-18 that dealt with it comes back. The F-18 that had my EOSU that I fixed. This is the sense of pride, right? I watched that F-18 come up and totally just obliterate those skiffs. You just... and they are just absolutely obliterated. And they actually showed us the camera footage of it when it came back. And it was the coolest, the absolute coolest thing from my experience in the Navy that I ever went through. It was pretty awesome. So that's the Navy stories. I got plenty more. Again, I wasn't gonna do it because please do not do that whole thank you for service thing. I swear to God, it's not that I'm not thankful for the gratitude. It's that I don't deserve it. It was a 9-to-5 job. When I was out in the boat, it was basically a 24/7 job, but it was a lifestyle that we chose, and it set us up for our life now. We were never in danger. There was nothing that ever put us out there. So don't go down that road. But to put a coup de grace on everything here. Today, I am carrying, once again, the Steel Will Screamer. I've talked about this knife in the past. This knife is awesome, and I'm going to be doing a review on it shortly. Probably my favorite steel wheel knife to this point. It definitely crushes the sedge. It's much better than the Modus's, and it's a great blade. So thanks again, Jake, for sending that. I'm taking my time going through these. I'm not intentionally doing it. It's just the way kind of time frames work out. That's all I got for you guys today. My name is Tyler. This has been Everyday EDC. Thank you guys so much for watching. I apologize that the content kind of went in a direction that wasn't the greatest, but again, it's stories that have to be told because nobody would know these. I don't even know if I'm supposed to tell half of these. Yeah. So I got some other cool points that we'll be doing on little segments like this. So again, you guys have a great freaking day. It is Tuesday. I will be getting some reviews out tomorrow night and Thursday to where I can start loading up the reviews again. I ran out of reviews to do. I did a chats in the truck yesterday, and I didn't really like the way it came out, and so I'm not going to use that one. But yeah, rambling. Have a great freaking day, guys.